TV camera already, okay. Call to order the regular meeting of the Common Council of the City of Platteville for Tuesday, April 14th, 2015, and we'll start with roll call.
Mike Den, not here right at the moment. Barbara Doss.
Here.
Barbara Stackhausen has been excused. Dick Bonin.
Here.
Ken Killian.
Here.
Eileen Nichols.
Here.
And Amy Seaboth Wilson. Here.
Before we go any further on our next item on the agenda, there is an individual sitting up here who, this will be his last council meeting until he decides to run again. I'm talking about Dick Bonin. Most of you probably know Dick. He grew up in Platteville, and he's been heavily involved in a lot of volunteer activities. He's a veteran. I know he was involved in that.
Well, I even got to go to the hockey game Friday night and got recognized. I thought it'd be a bunch of veterans there, and I walk out there, and I'm the only one there, along with Brad Johnson.
Well, there you go. It shows how special you are.
Whole crowd stood up.
All right. But anyway, Dick has been a great member of the city council and has decided at this time not to run again. So he served on lots of committees and commissions and boards, and maybe the public is not aware of the fact that we don't just meet on Tuesdays twice a month. We all have boards and commissions and committees that as a council member, you are a liaison to. That's usually 4 committees minimum. So not only are we doing this twice a month here, but we're also going to all these boards, commissions, and committee meetings. And so Dick has been very active in that as well. So Dick, thank you very much. Is there anything you'd like to say before we go on with our meeting?
Goodbye.
The first item this evening is a special presentation, Platteville Area Industrial Development Corporation, the Executive Director.
Hello all, my name is Ela Cockaday with the Platteville Area Industrial Development Corporation, also known as PADIC. And a good way to remember that would be get paid in Platteville. So that's the tagline I want to lead with. So I just want to start off with explaining a little bit about PADIC. And so due to rising costs, a community needs to grow by about 3 to 5% every year just to maintain a status quo of your city services. So one way to do that is obviously to raise taxes. And I don't know about you, but I'm not really a big fan of that. Another way to do that, obviously, is through supporting business development and business growth. And that's what we do here at the Platteville Area Industrial Development Corp, also as PADIC. So who are we? Well, PADIC was started in 1956 by Platteville, by the citizens of Platteville. And they came together and formed a corporation with shareholders, a social corporation. And as a result, those people put together and decided to pay in $20, create this corporation, and focus on the business needs. So over almost 60 years, this community has been focusing on the business needs and growing as a result of that focused effort. So as a result, PADIC has been able to support over 1,000 jobs since its creation, and we've brought in millions of dollars of tax base. It's about $23 per $1,000 in property tax at the city level. So if you multiply that times the amount of businesses and the business property taxes, it's a phenomenal amount. Who PADIC is also comprised of our city council, our city staff, citizens, nonprofits like the Grant County Economic Development Corporation, and businesses like our hospital, our banks, and many of our local businesses, and including our manufacturing firms like Hypro, DeLeo Machining, etc. So I'm responsible for the manufacturing and the commercial industry services for Platteville. And so what I do is that I meet their needs. Like we have businesses coming in and saying, I can't find enough workers. So I help them find workers through high schools, through the university, through the technical colleges. And we're coming up with some really innovative projects in order to get people to get into our businesses. They may not be able to work full time, but they can work part of the time. And we're trying different ways to get them to work. And our manufacturers are grateful for this. We also help businesses locate to Platteville because we're selling Platteville online and through our social networks. We're also helping existing businesses grow And we're doing that by doing marketing outreach for them. We're finding different niches that they can participate in. And we also get businesses connected to resources at the state level, at the national level, with banks and with local resources. So if we have a business coming in and saying, I can't find a place, where do I find a place? I'm the person that gets in touch with other local resources and helps them find a place where that business can grow. If we have an existing business saying, I can't find enough workers, or I need to figure out how to reach into this other market, we get them connected to the resources to make that happen. So where are we going? Right now, we have 39 acres in the industrial park that we're looking to market. Infrastructure should be coming in October. Thank you to Ed White, Howard Crowfoot, our fantastic staff here at the city. And then we're also looking at marketing more of our efforts online. And so we're going to be going after a wider variety of businesses. The one last thing I want to leave you guys here with is that what's neat about Platteville is most people that live in Platteville are from Platteville or from the area. So we have a lot of homegrown businesses and a lot of homegrown talent. So as a result, by getting people to come back to the region, by nurturing those businesses in the region, I think we have a real opportunity for homegrown growth. And so I want to praise the City Council for this continued support, and I want to praise the city for being so forward-thinking and putting something together like PADIC, and I look forward to our partnership for helping us grow and fostering our community what we want it to be as it grows up. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is consideration of the consent calendar. The following items may be approved on a single motion and vote due to their routine nature of previous discussion. Please indicate to the council president if you would prefer separate discussion and action. First item is minutes of the March 24th, 2015 regular council meeting and also the March 27th, 15 special meeting. Payment of bills, financial report for March, appointments to boards and commissions, and this evening I have a number of appointments. The Community Development Board, Eileen Engelke. Commission on Aging, Dick Bonin. We're going to keep you busy. We're going to point you to that commission. Board of Appeals, for ET zoning, John Miller. Historic Preservation, a 3-year term, Charlotte Eversole. Historic Preservation alternate, Gary Prohaska. Library Board, 3-year term, Ann Otto. Under licenses, we have a Class B combination beer and liquor, Julie Leffelholz, Platteville, for premises at 110 West Main. Contingent upon surrender of license held by Randall Grimes. 2 is change of agent, Walgreen Company, Deerfield, Zachary Schwab, agent for premises at 675 South Water Street. 3 is a temporary Class B and Class B to serve fermented malt beverages and wine for St. Augustine's University Parish, for their premises at 135 South Hickory Street on April 16th from 5 p.m. until 11:59 p.m. for Irish Fest, and September 25th from 3 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. 4 is extension of licensed premises to include the city parking lots, Nick's at 74 North 2nd Street on May 2nd. 5, 1-year and 2-year operators licenses, and 6 is taxi driver licenses, also in your packet. We have requests for 2 permits. 1 is a street closing for Nick's. He's having a Platteville Derby Days Festival on May 2nd. And again, St. Augustine's University Parish, Hickory Street from Greenwood Avenue to Pine Street, April 16th and September 25th. And a parade. The Chamber of Commerce will have a Platteville Derby Days Festival on May 2nd. And finally, a resolution amending the 2015 fee schedule relative to the recycling bins. That's something that the city has available for citizens to purchase, and we're changing the cost of the bins because the costs have gone up to the city. Is there a motion on the consent calendar?
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar except for the license on 1, because I think we probably need an explanation on what the licensing committee has got going with the Grimes.
Is there a second?
Issue.
Is there a second in the motion?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the rest of the consent calendar, but you would like to have that one kept out and then have an explanation?
Yeah, I'm sure license committee's got an answer for us.
Okay. So we'll vote on the motion to approve without number 1. E1.
Den,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Bonin,
Yes,
Killian,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Seaboth Wilson. Yes. Motion carries.
So anyone on the
I'll take it.
licensing committee?
Yes.
Sure.
Dick, what would, Randy Grimes is no longer gonna be able to utilize his license. And Julie Leffelholtz has a place that would be able to utilize that license. Randy gave us a letter saying that upon his, giving up his license, he would like to see it go to Julie.
Oh, okay, well, that's what I was looking for.
Right, that's what-
I
that's
wanted to
what we
make
did.
sure he was in agreement with that.
Yep, he sent a letter and signed it.
Okay,
Okay, is there a motion to approve that license then?
I so move, we approve that license.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll vote.
Den,
Yes?
Doss,
Yes.
Bonin,
yes,
Killian.
Yes.
I'm sorry, did I hear? Killian? Nichols,
Yes.
Seabold Wilson. Yes. Motion carries.
The next item is citizen comments, observations, and petitions. I don't have anyone who's actually signed up to just speak generally. The ones that I have are relative to an action item on our agenda, so, we have, oh, I'm sorry, Luke did have one. We do have one. What are these?
Luke Peters, I'm the city's recreation coordinator. I'm here today to just announce our second annual Dunkin' Donuts Delivery Challenge, which will be May 24th. Once again, the police department is challenging the fire department to deliver the most donuts on that day between 7 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Last year was a great fundraiser for our Project Pulse. So much so that it actually finished off our Project Pulse fundraising, which was great. I was expecting this fundraiser to take a number of years to do that, and it did that in only one. And they were able to deliver about 500 donuts, or 500 dozen donuts in that single day, which was a great fundraiser. So we brought it back, and this year it's going to be going towards the Platteville Parks Endowment Fund, which is a fund that benefits Platteville Parks, recreation, and events like that. So I encourage you on your way out to pick one up. They're also available online on our Facebook pages, or you can stop in police and fire, library, city hall to pick one up. That's all I got.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. The only other comment I'll make is to remind the council members that we do have our special organizational council meeting next Tuesday, the 21st, at 7 PM here in the council chambers. That's when the individuals who were re-elected or newly elected are sworn in.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, April 21st at 7 PM. Reports in the packet include committee reports on the Platteville Museum Board. Stockhausen is not here. Commission on Aging, Bonin.
no change other than what's in the report.
Community Safe Route, Seaboth Wilson.
No additions.
Police and Fire Commission, Den.
No additions?
Fred and Wright Animal Care Trust Fund Committee, the minutes are in the packet. Redevelopment Authority Board, Dawes.
No additions.
Historic Preservation Commission, Killian.
No addition.
Other reports in our packet include the city attorney itemized statements, water and sewer financial report, airport financial report, department progress reports, and the 2014 tax incremental financing districts 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 reports. Any questions or comments on any of that information?
I was just wondering if Howard would like to give any update or information on the goings-on on 4th Street.
Well, most of you can probably just take a peek out the window and see what's going on. We've been working pretty diligently. They started on last Thursday, and they've done some sewer work, and they've started some water replacement on this first block from Main Street. Will be continuing on through November.
Anybody else? No questions? All right. First item for action, Platteville Public Transportation Committee recommendations.
Okay. Okay, just to remind everybody, the Platteville Transit System Joint Committee met on numerous occasions. 5 members appointed by the Common Council, 5 by UW Platteville, and the committee made recommendations on the name, the logo, fares, fare collection system, and bus routes. And so based on this, staff is recommending approval of the recommendations of the joint committee as follows: that the name of the system be known as Platteville Public Transportation. We have an attached diagram with the logo for the system to be used on bus stops and for the bus and taxi vehicles. The fares for the bus portion of the system would be $1 per ride, exact change only, no transfers, and $25 for a monthly pass. We're asking for authorization for staff to develop discount packages for sales of multiple months, and authorizing staff to solicit for advertising on the backs of monthly passes to cover the cost of printing. Right now, the passes are to be sold at City Hall, UW Platteville Information Desk. I went to the library board and they agreed to allow sales at the library, and after getting permission from the council, I would approach at least a few of the businesses to see if they would be willing to sell them at their locations. The policy for advertisements give preference to City of Platteville businesses and where, quote, the majority of income is not from the sale of alcohol, to restrict advertisements that could be used by minors. Fare collection system, drivers would collect cash fares for single rides, and then what we would do is we would sell the bus passes and we would receive the fare revenue for that. Drivers will collect ridership data, and to update you on what we believe we can do is we'll have the total ridership for the day. Students, that's an easy one because they'll show their student ID pass. And then based on appearance only, the drivers will do under 18, over 65, any persons who appear to be handicapped or disabled, and then regular adult fares. And there are maps depicting the different bus routes, the proposed routes to be used. And so staff is recommending implementation of all of these recommendations.
Eileen, because I have a conflict of interest because I'm working on this as my job as well, I'm going to recuse myself now since this is a vote tonight and go sit in the audience for discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the council?
Well, I have just one for you. Will there be a accounting of the fares that go, let's say, on campus to other places on campus? So we can tell the difference if they were utilized by our people downtown, all our people that live in Platteville? Will we have a difference of, let's say we had 27,000 people that get on and get off, okay? Will we know that X number of them will be just on and off at the university? And will we know that if it's off the university to downtown or downtown back? Will we have that ability?
The drivers will only be able to account for when the people get on the bus and where they get on the bus. So if a person who appears to be over 65 gets on the bus at, say, the Walmart stop, that's where it will be shown up. If a young person gets on the bus to go home from the pool in the summer, they'll say under 18 gets on the pool. They won't be able to say where the people get off. It's a little bit too difficult at this point to track both the ons and the offs. So we're just going to go with where they get on and what category they appear to be.
It's unfortunate because we won't be able to really track if, say, 2/3 of all the ridership never left campus, okay? So it kind of slates to the side of, oh, we had these many people get on, these many people get off, but where were they? Instead of utilizing the system all throughout the city or just utilizing it on campus. So it's unfortunate that we can't track that. Thank you.
I move that we accept the recommendations as brought forward by the joint committee and all of the recommendations brought forward.
I'll second it.
We have A through E recommendations is what we're talking about.
A through E, and then under E, 1 through 4,
Okay.
routes.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll vote.
Den,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Bonin,
Yes.
Killian,
yes,
Nichols.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I also believe it would be appropriate for us to issue thank yous to the committee for the work they did. They did it in a very quick amount of time, and I think it's appropriate for us to send some kind of thank you to the folks who worked on it.
Thank you to everyone who
Thank you.
served on the committee. Welcome back, Amy. Next item is CompuNet, IT needs.
Yep, the city council was briefed on this at our last meeting. It has come to the city's attention that several of our servers have started to fail. A couple of them have failed twice now. The city is being asked to purchase staff time and 2 new servers. Implementing the server/storage recommendations from CompuNet International costs up to approximately $40,000. These expenses were not budgeted in 2015 and will require a 2/3 vote of the council for a budget amendment. Having our IT servers fail is a severe issue as far as workflow for our staff and for ensuring that our internal computer systems are able to function and for our daily activities.
Question?
Any questions?
Larry, question. We have we're under budget on one of our projects right now. Is that what we're looking at, the money to come from?
Yes, staff is proposing that a transfer occur from the street construction budget into the information technology. The street construction project that Mr. Crowfoot bid out came in under budget, and so we do have some funds available within that budget item to transfer over to the IT department. I also want to mention that TJ Carter is here from CompuNet if anyone has questions directly for TJ.
One other thing we talked about, there was a $10,000 amount that we're hopefully to use in the IT. Are we still gonna be able to use that also? And just to jog your memory of our conversation, it was money that was coming back in lieu of a contract.
Yes, it's all in the same fund.
Okay, it's
So
all- okay.
it really doesn't matter if you take it from the streets or take it from the $10,000 income source that we got.
Okay, just wondered if that was
Yep.
part of it. Thank you.
But for the purposes of the motion, we would have to designate where the money would be.
Yeah, the staff note has the street construction portion of the budget. Because the dollar amount was 40, it was just, otherwise you'd have multiple transactions.
Excellent. I make a motion, we approve an expenditure of $40,000 for unanticipated expenses in information technology, and that we adopt the appropriate budget amendment to transfer funds from street construction capital improvement account to information technologies capital improvement account.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to mention, we talked about this at the last meeting too, but when we work on the budget this coming fall, I want to make sure that we're budgeting for continual server improvements over the years so that we're not caught in a position of having to pay for it up front unexpectedly again. But I'm sure we'll do that. I just want everybody to know that that's something that's a priority that we'll discuss again later.
All right, we'll vote.
Den,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Bonin,
Yes.
Killian,
yes,
Nichols,
Yes.
Seabolt Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item is the ordinance prohibiting pit bull dogs. Just to refresh everyone's memory, this was brought forth by a council person, and at the meeting that we held, it was suggested that the Freudenreich Animal Care Trust Fund look at the suggested changes to our animal ordinance. They did so, and they have come back with some recommendations. I don't know if there's anybody on staff who wanted to speak to this.
I can speak to some of the ordinance. I created the ordinance based on another community, and I can tell you that in your packet, you'll have a copy of the original ordinance, a copy of the recommendation, as well as a copy of the modified ordinance as proposed from Freudenreich Committee. The modified ordinance you'll see is redlined in that it scratches out section 7 and section 8, 8B and C. So that gives you an update as to what's being proposed to the city council at this point.
We had in our packet the information from the Freudenreich Animal Care Trust Fund. We also have people who would like to speak on this issue, so first I'll ask if there are any questions here from the,
You want us to make a motion on this now and then let them speak?
I want to speak
I
first.
think we should have them speak
Okay.
first and.
I want
and
to speak
we'll
first.
go from there. Yes, Dick.
The chief asked me to bring this information, and of course, I think we've all got it in printing, but that he is in favor of the original ordinance as it is now, not this pit bull stuff. He would like to see it stay the same as it is because it works. If something happens, which has happened, the police are able to find the people with the bad dog or with the dog that caused this problem. And from that point on, a ticket can be issued by them if they see fit. Am I on track yet, Bruce? And so there, from that point on, if the ticket's been issued and there's some damages done, the parties involved, especially when had the damage done, is able to file suit if they wish, and that's what you have the insurance and we have the court systems for. And not try to have somebody run around town and check what the dogs look like or who they are. So the original ordinance is what he is in favor of. That's it.
I'd like to add as well, I've been on council for a year now, and this is by far and away the most public response I've seen to any issue on the council thus far. So I wanted to thank everybody who took the time to comment. That's truly wonderful. It's great when people do that. And I wanted to add, just so everybody in this room knows, that the majority of comments were overwhelmingly against this ordinance, so that everybody is aware that the consensus seems to be among the community that we do not want to ban pit bulls, at least from the feedback that we've gotten as a council so far. And so I just wanted to put that out there, that that's what we have received, so thank you.
And I would like to add also that there's a group called Citizens of Platteville in opposition to breed-specific ban, and that information was provided for our packet, so we have seen that as well. So at this point, I think we will ask the three individuals who have asked to speak, and please, if you could keep your comments really short. I know we say 5 minutes, but if you can keep them to 2, we would really appreciate it. Kirk, it looks like Halma, is that correct? If you'd give your name and your address, please, and again, we had a long night, so.
Okay, I understand. And please, I am a guest in Platteville tonight. My name is Kirk Halma. I'm from Woodstock, Illinois. I'm a certified professional dog trainer and behavior specialist. I was asked to come to Platteville because we had heard about, through a rescue organization that I work with regularly, had heard about the potential change in ordinance of promoting a breed ban here in Platteville. So I came up to hopefully offer at least some professional experience and advice. Came to the meeting a couple of weeks ago, talked to some people there, and so I do have some information. I don't want to get into it at length, but essentially what I have here is the breed or the position statements of virtually every national organization in our country, starting with legal and government, national kennel clubs, dog training associations, veterinary and behaviorist associations, and of course the animal welfare groups. Now I could go into the whole list, but it includes the Department of Justice, Centers of Disease Control, American Bar Association, again, all the veterinarian groups. They are all unanimous about one thing: breed-specific legislation does not work. Not only does it not work, it is in fact harmful to the community when it comes to the fact that it causes emotional distress and trauma for the majority of dog owners who own good dogs and do the right things as far as care and control of their animals, and then they are forced to depart with their animal, maybe even have it put down or have to move, okay? So the bottom line for me as a trainer is that this really is not an issue about dogs at all. I mean, it's a part of the conversation. But everybody in this room wants the same thing, even Mike, who's proposed this. We want a safer community. We all want equal justice under the law. I agree with the chief that the current ordinances are the right kind of ordinances. The kind of ordinances that deal with responsible dog ownership. And if I am a person walking through Platteville tonight and I get bitten by a dog, I want that to be taken care of regardless of what kind of dog it is. Mike's worried about mortality. Well, a breed does not cause mortality. An individual dog does. And whatever that dog has done is most likely, in my opinion, caused by how it's cared for, how it is controlled, what socialization, what training it has, or the lack thereof. I can provide, obviously, all these position statements, don't want to go into the detail, but one of my philosophies is, if you're going to have a complaint, you ought to also offer a solution. The majority of these same organizations offer up from the American Veterinary Medical Association what is considered to be basically the new Bible for how to promote dog bite prevention in all our communities. The National Canine Research Council has gone on and now has essentially stated that nowhere in the world, let alone the United States or Canada, has breed-specific legislation ever worked. And if it doesn't work, then why would we consider it? The evidence is now overwhelming. It simply doesn't work. So, what do? You examine your current ordinances. If they're good and strict and hold people responsible, I talked at length with Mike the last time I was here. One of his concerns is a first occurrence problem. Well, I agree. Anytime there's a damage done or an injury, that dog owner should be responsible, whether it's a first occurrence or not. Okay? So, again, if there's anything I can do, and I do travel to get here, but this is important to me. I've traveled all over the country at people's requests to talk about this because I do believe in absolutely strict and fair dog control, bite prevention, and we all want that regardless, again, of what kind of breed we're talking about. If there's anybody who wants questions after the meeting, happy to talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Carla Hathaway? Sorry.
My name is Carla Holloway. I live at 75 East Gridley Avenue. I'm a member of the group, the Citizens of Platteville, who are opposed to the ban, who provided the information in the packets for all the council members. I'm here to register my opposition and the opposition shared by many Platteville citizens to the proposed ban on a few arbitrarily chosen bully-type breeds. We want you to know that though, of course, many of us are dog owners who don't want to lose our beloved pets, our opposition stems from simple facts. And because of these facts, it is our belief that the proposed breed ban would be bad for our community and not beneficial in any way. We have no objection to the provisions banning the possession of dogs kept for the purpose of fighting, nor do we object to the provisions penalizing animal cruelty or neglect. The first fact is this: breed-specific legislation does not make communities safer, as Kirk has already told you. 7 studies conducted around the world between 1996 and 2009 all came to the same conclusion. Breed-specific legislation does not decrease risk. That breed is not a reliable predictor of aggression is another fact attested to by a number of scientific studies and expert opinions. Yet another fact is that breed-specific legislation does nothing to hold irresponsible or abusive dog owners accountable for their actions, while at the same time punishing people who are neither irresponsible nor abusive and whose dogs are not vicious. This is why we support the provision penalizing cruelty, because those are the ordinances that work. These facts are a strong argument against the ban on their own, but there are also a number of reasons the proposed ban would be unfeasible for the Platteville community to implement. Primarily, it is impossible to accurately identify a dog's breed on site, especially because so many dogs kept as pets are mixed breed to begin with. Enforcing the ban would mean proving a dog's breed beyond reasonable doubt, which has been proven impossible to do accurately and objectively. Finally, I urge you to trust the expert opinions that Kirk has already mentioned of animal organizations, even professional legal organizations, and authorities on public health who have made statements opposing breed-specific legislation. The fact is, the proposed breed ban would not be good for Platteville. It is a waste of time and resources. It is not supported by any credible sources. It is not supported by the Platteville community. Please do not make it law. Thank you.
Thank you. Tawny Den.
Oh, Jesus.
My name is Tawny Den. I am an honorary Platteville community member. I do not physically live here. I live in Harvard, Illinois, but I do have several in-laws here and several family members here as well. I am vehemently opposed to the proposed ordinance change that will prohibit taxpaying individuals in Platteville from owning a pit bull type dog. As a pit bull owner and foster for over 16 years, the dogs that have come in to live in my home are all rescues. Of those dogs, 2 were known to be fighting dogs, 1 was a bait dog, 5 had unknown background, and 3 were labeled as severely dog aggressive. However, given those labels and those stigmas, not one of them ever bit a person. The citizens of Platteville, in opposition to a breed-specific ban work group, submitted a 3-page document that was included in the council members' packet for discussion regarding this evening's meeting. In addition to the bullets covered by Carla, I'd like to touch on just a couple that specifically relate to Platteville and Grant County. While a ban on any type of dog should be prohibited, the actual bite statistics obtained from Jeff Kindray from the Grant County Health Department absolutely do not support a ban of pit bull type dogs. The report provided by Mr. Kindray covers a 4-year period between the years of 2010 to 2014. In those 4 years, there are a cumulative total of 366 bites. Of those 366 bite incidents, only 1.9% of the bites reported in Grant County were identified as inflicted by a pit bull type dog, and only 2.2% identified as inflicted by a mixed breed dog that may have contained a pit bull type dog. I want to just note here that the top 5 dogs that were identified in bite incidents over that 4-year span, 71 of them were unidentified mixed breeds, mutts, and strays. 33 of them were incidents from labs. 23 of them German Shepherds, 10 Australian Shepherds, and 10 from Beagle Cross mixes. Pit bulls had 6. You are 5.5 times more likely to get bit by a lab in Grant County than a pit bull. The purpose of me explaining this is that my understanding is that several of the other towns within Grant County already have put forth a pit bull ordinance. I went through, and in 2014, the number of bite incidents throughout Grant County was 77. They have steadily risen since 2010. 2012 saw 53, 2013 saw 65, and 2014 saw 77. If those ordinances truly worked here, locally, in Grant County, you would not be seeing a rise in dog bite incidents. However, that does not seem to be the case. Discussion at past meetings have made some points as to the rehabilitative possibilities to take dogs with troubled backgrounds and safely integrate them into family environments. Many examples can be taken from the nation's most publicized fighting dog confiscation, which are the dogs of Michael Vick. While there will always be a select few individuals, canine or human, that are beyond rehabilitation for whatever the reason, the vast majority can be rehabilitated and integrated into a family home. I have personal experience with this, as does Kirk Halma, and we would be happy to discuss our experiences with anyone who would like further discussion. My dogs are part of my family. Thankfully, the state of Illinois does not support breed-specific legislation, and I have not had to go and fight for my own family members. But I am here today fighting for those members of other families. The law presumes all are innocent of a crime until proven guilty. For those that support this ban, you are punishing every dog and owner for the poor judgment and lack of responsibility of a few. Thank you.
Thank you. And those are the individuals that have asked to speak on the subject. So, council discussion.
I have a question on one of the,
Okay, I don't see that one. Maybe I buried it under my papers.
yeah, she did
Come
give
onto
one.
the microphone and introduce yourself, please.
Really quick, I came all the way from Dubuque.
Okay.
I promise I'll
She
be
was the
quick.
last one.
My name is Kate Leiden, and I am the co-founder of Key City Pit Bulls. In 2011, I started that basic club and Facebook group just to bring pit bull owners together in case something like this did happen. And in that time, I've met hundreds and hundreds of adorable family pit bull type dogs. These are children's play pals. These are rescued dogs. I recently fostered and now have adopted another pit bull, so now I have two. They're adorable. But in all that time, I probably met 300 pit bulls. I've met one who was aggressive, and it was probably because he was not neutered, he was not socialized, he was not exercised. He was basically somebody's guard dog. And since being neutered, his family reports that he's a much happier, healthier, safer member of their family. So I want to applaud this community for doing their due diligence, the Animal Care Trust Fund for making the recommendation to take the breed specific out, as well as the police chief for standing up and opposing the breed specific parts of this. But I also want to commend you for the other parts that you've added about the cruelty to animals and actually putting that in writing about you should probably feed your dog and make sure that it has decent shelter year round. Believe it or not, those are not in every community. So I fully support the amended version that doesn't talk about a breed specific element, and if that passes, then thank you from Dubuque pit bull owners, because you're not too far away and this kind of stuff has a tendency to spread. So we want to thank you all if you do pass the non-breed specific version of this tonight. Thank you.
Kate, I'm sorry, I did find you buried in the other group. So if you could just give your name, just because we record this, so then
Yep. It's Kate Leiden from Dubuque.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I miss anybody else?
I have a question.
You have a question?
So this is on the agenda. If no motion is made, does that mean that the ordinance stands as it currently is?
That would be true.
Okay. So if there is no motion offered, then we would assume that the ordinance in its current form without any revision would continue.
That is correct according to our attorney. Yes, Ken?
Right.
I was gonna ask the gentleman back there, do you have a model ordinance?
Would you come to the microphone, please?
My question is, do you have a model ordinance that I could compare our ordinance to?
No, sir, I did not bring a specific ordinance that would be necessarily a model. As I said, I have documents from the American Medical Veterinary Association who suggests how communities might improve bite prevention in their communities without this type of breed ban. Certainly, we could probably try and find some for you. If that's something you would like us to do, we'd be happy to try.
And we have the name and address, Ken, so if we
No,
want further
and Mike did offer
information-
me a couple of really good pieces of information last week that I did take the time to read. There are some points that he has that I do not disagree with. The way he wants to resolve it, I adamantly disagree with. Okay, so I think that there are some things he gave me the existing ordinance. I think there are some things that could potentially be improved, in my opinion, as a dog trainer. But certainly, what it really boils down to is just like a lot of other laws, it's all about enforcement. If you have the right laws in place and you enforce them, that is what makes the difference.
Okay, thank you,
Would you like me to try and find something for you, sir?
Please.
Yeah, great. I try. Thank you.
thank you.
I have another,
Mike has been waiting.
oh, okay.
I want to thank everybody for coming and all your interest in this whole thing. One thing I would like to explain, there was never, ever any indication of anything to do with dog bites, okay? Breed-specific regulations don't look at specific for dog bites for the whole package, okay? When you have a breed-specific legislation, okay, obviously, it's not gonna change the number of dog bites that are out there, okay? What it's gonna do is take away the dog that 6% of the population killed 203 people in the last 10 years. That's one every 18 days. Rottweilers killed 36 of those people. That's like 240 some people that were killed in the last 10 years, okay? All other breeds, 3% were done by like 5 or 6 deaths. They don't know because the dogs weren't around there. And there were 4 other people killed in that time frame by other breeds, okay? Now, when you're looking at such a small percentage of the total dog population killed that many people. Now, you folks don't think my information is correct, but I brought a whole bunch of obituaries with me. You could welcome to call these people's families and say, hey, you really didn't die because Mike's information is incorrect. This has nothing to do with dog bites. I agree with you folks and with people from Illinois that dog bites don't go down with this, okay? But that's not what we're talking about. How many people have Cocker Spaniels killed? The number one biting dog in the whole, as far as insurance companies are concerned, is the Golden Retriever. It bites more than anybody, okay? So it wasn't dog bites, folks. Okay, we already have the ordinance in place to handle that. This was to reduce mortality, the death, if it's possible, okay? That's why we did that. But if you're ready for a motion, I have a motion.
We have a couple of other people who would like to.
Okay, but thank you
Dick,
for
did you want
listening.
to say anything else, or you've made your comment?
Oh, I was just gonna make the motion about just,
Okay.
Just leave it
Well,
at-
Barb had indicated she wanted to.
I was just going to say that I understand that the Freudenreich Animal Care Trust Fund brought forward an emotion that included some reference to cruelty and treatment of animals. Personally, I'm in favor of the ordinance as it stands. And I would like those people
Which
who
one?
brought the without change.
okay.
Our current ordinance as it stands. That's what I'm in favor of. And I wanted to point out that Chief McKinley did say that he believes we have another ordinance, 41.05, parent 52, which adopts state statute 951.02 relative to mistreating animals. And he believes that that adequately addresses the issues that you put, so it would kind of be a duplication. So I don't want to say that I'm not in favor of that particular paragraph or those particular things you cited, but I would say that the chief indicates that we have that somewhere else in our ordinances, so I don't know that we need to be duplicative. So that's why I'm in favor of no change to the ordinance. I'm in favor of having the ordinance stand as it is.
Okay, I have a motion to make on this ordinance, okay? I'm going along with the recommendations of the staff. Staff recommends that the city council review the proposed attached ordinance and advise staff if further information, research, or action be needed at a given time. That's my ordinance.
That's your motion.
That is my motion, excuse me.
Okay, that's your motion.
Yes.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
All right. We have the motion which says that we would continue this discussion later. Is that basically what you're asking for, Mike?
Right, we're basically, what we have on the table right now, we're gonna discuss it and change it, okay? So the actual pit bull ban is something that we're gonna discuss, but that's not what we wanna bring into the picture right now. That's why I'm going with staff recommendations.
So you would, the staff recommendation is that the city council review the proposed attached ordinance and advises staff if further information, research, or action is needed. That's your motion?
Correct.
All right.
But it says that, it also goes on to say the impact of adopting the proposal is the attached proposal will ensure that pit bulls are listed as prohibited dog breeds in the city of Platteville.
But that's not part of my motion. We're only
that's-
going with staff recommendation, not impact of the proposal. We're just going with the recommendation that city council review the proposed attached ordinance and advise staff if further information or research or action is needed. That way we can discuss this and put it in perspective. And this way you can do away with your pit bull issue, okay? So this is the ordinance.
Can I
we're
ask
gonna-
for
listen,
clarification?
Mike. Pardon me?
Can I ask for clarification?
Yes.
One of the things we're asking is if you want us to do anything to help you address this ordinance.
Yes, and I will give you
Are
all
you
that.
giving us that information this evening? Is that what you're doing?
I can't give it to you tonight because it's in about 10
Oh.
communities worth of the vicious dog ordinances, okay?
Okay.
That's what we're gonna look at.
So as I understand your motion, if the motion passes, we will continue to pursue getting information,
Yes,
doing research, and
Okay.
possible action in the future.
in the distant future.
All right, so does everyone understand the motion? If you vote in favor, we will continue the discussion. If you vote in the negative,
I
we would
understand the
not.
motion, but why in the blazes are we even monkeying with it?
Well, we have a motion, we're gonna vote.
We've got a lot of people here, and we've all gotten mail and emails
Yep.
against it.
So you can vote for or against the motion, Dick.
So Den,
Yes,
Doss,
No.
Bonin,
No,
Killian,
Yes.
Nichols,
No.
Amy Seaboth Wilson.
No.
Motion fails.
okay.
Thank you all very much. All right.
Can I make a second
Thank you,
motion?
nothing. Oh, there's another one coming.
I got a dog too.
If I could jump in here, I want to remind everyone that if you have dogs in the city of Platteville, please get them licensed. We want to make sure every dog is taken care of. And the number of people licensing their dogs has severely dropped this year. We went from 8 pages of dogs down to 1.25 pages. So that's like 10% of our dogs are actually getting licensed. And it's really important that dogs get licensed.
The rest of them are all illegal at this point if they're not licensed.
Oh, just a moment. Ki-
Why can't we get them at our vet, like we used to? I don't have my dog license yet because I take her down in that terrible weather. You can't even get back there. I went the other day to try to get the police department and I got the wrong.
If we know that you're trying to get your dog licensed, we will do everything we can to help you. I will walk over there, get the license, and bring it to you.
Why can't we get them at the vet?
Yeah, that's a good question. I
Okay, that,
don't know the
Let's do
answer.
good question, and that's something that I guess the city needs to.
can certainly look
needs to
into.
look at.
Yep.
Okay. All right, thanks. We're on to the library block facade approval. We have
Yep.
the architect with us again, which is wonderful.
Same crowd.
All right.
don't mind.
Just for background information on this one, I don't know if anybody from staff wants to make a statement on any of this, but basically, the council has been discussing the design of the library block. Historic Preservation Commission looked at that design and asked for some,
It would be great if
Revisions?
people wanted to stick around and see the new library design.
actually, you can
and-
turn around in the back, and you are going to get to see some
that?
revisions that the architect, once again, has very graciously provided for us.
Mention libraries and everybody gets.
And Michael, would you give your name, please, and
Sure. Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Brush. I'm an architect with Plunkett Rasich Architects. We have offices in Milwaukee and Madison. This is my third trip here to show the good people of Platteville the library design. First time was the library board, second time was the plan commission, and now this is my first opportunity with the city council. But the first two meetings went very well. It was very enthusiastically received. And so what I hope to do tonight is address some of the issues that came up with the Historic Commission while not changing some of the good feelings we had from the first two meetings. So some of you may not notice dramatic differences, but there are some that I will point out. And I will try to be brief. I don't know how many of you have seen this. I won't go into too much detail, but this is the site plan. The library is the yellow area located on Main. This is Elm, and this is Chestnut. And we are not going to talk about the hotel tonight. It's the library only that we're addressing. The hotel is still something that's coming. We haven't had a chance to meet with the hotel people yet, and so we're not sure exactly where the design on that is going. You'll see it in the background of some of the images I'm going to show you. We do have plans that we have shown. Basically, the adult collection on the ground floor, the children's collection on the second floor, and I won't go into detail on that. Although there is a community room on the second floor, and I will be talking about this room here, which is the children's reading area, which is on the corner of Chestnut and Main. So keep those in mind. But the focus tonight is on the exterior, and this is the image that I started out with, of your Main Street, turn of the 20th century architecture. And we have always been concerned about blending in with this context while not copying it. And so it is a challenge. How do you blend in with a historic context, a very important historic context? And there are extremes of the way people have done it. There is Disneyification, and obviously this is one extreme. And then there is, this is the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, Spain by Frank Gehry. Another extreme where they just said, we're going to build a sculpture and the city's going to love it. And some of you probably know who Frank Gehry is because of that building. And then, of course, there's the Guggenheim Museum in New York, which was quite a battle to get past in a context that didn't fit the style of the building. Now, that is not at all what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about trying to fit into the historic guidelines that the city has already adopted. And I have quite a few of them here, and I'm going to try to go through these very, very quickly. The phrases in red are the things that I thought were most important. Basically, the new development should be similar scale to historic buildings and should utilize similar rhythms, though architectural style will not be regulated. So no Disneyification. A minimum of 20% of the facade shall vary in height, and I'll show you that we've done that. The building shall establish vertical proportions for the street facade. I think we've done that as well. 2 or more of the following techniques at no more than 30-foot intervals should be used. Expression of architectural structural bays, variation of materials, variation of the building plane, and vertical proportion windows. We've used all of these techniques in various areas around the building. Number 3, new buildings shall utilize a horizontal expression line that projects at least 2 inches from the building facade to articulate the transition between the first floor and upper floors. Very, very particular. We went ahead and added this piece. This is something that was not in our original design. It should have a discernible base, and it needs to be at least 2 feet in height. Now, I always thought the building had a base, but I added a little 2-foot section in there as well. We kind of needed that anyway for the durability of the facade, so it's not right down on the sidewalk. So I'll show you that. This building should have display windows along no less than 50% of the horizontal length. Those of you who've seen the building know that we at least surpassed that. And then this next one's kind of redundant. The building facades facing a public street shall be comprised of at least 35% clear glass. So that seems similar to number 3, but we've done that. I only have 2 more pages of these. Upper story sections of the building facing visible public streets shall not exceed 50% glass. We did that intuitively. Originally, our upper story is not glass like the lower story. The way you look at older buildings around the turn of the century, the lower story was always kind of a commercial space, a lot of glass, and the upper story was usually apartments or offices or something. So we have done this. Public building entryways shall be clearly defined. We'll show you how we've done that. I guess I only had 1 page. Now, this is a picture directly out of the historic guidelines. And you can see the pieces that were actually conveyed. Some of these words on here were conveyed to me as things that we needed to look at on our building, such as the cornice. And I want to point out we've added a cornice that was not there before. The masonry wall, obviously we have the masonry wall. The regularly spaced windows. We have always had the regularly spaced windows, but as a play on that theme, and because this is the children's library area, we've chosen to be a little bit more playful with the size and positioning of those windows as a reinterpretation of a historic rhythm. And that was something that was very well received. We were asked to add a line here. That was that one about the 2-inch line that should project from the facade. We've added that piece. And then they have transoms shown. We've already got the transoms. We've got the storefront that they show, and there's that 2-foot base that they asked about. Clearly defined entranceway, canopy over the entrance, and then we've added these structural elements on the outside of the building. They were on the inside of the building. I've now moved some out to the outside of the building so we get a little bit more articulation on the facade. Now, when I first presented this, we talked about punched windows in a brick facade, and that's what this shows. I talked about creating an iconic element on the corner of the building that would be something very unique to Platteville, something that would be indicative of the excitement that's going on in the building. I talked about making this a little bit more like a discovery world rather than just a library, something that would really excite the kids and excite the community. And so that's what this element on the corner was designed to do. And then I talked about the playful pattern of windows, and even some of the windows projecting out over the street, and the use of colored glass to create really interesting things that kids can climb out on, you can walk out on, and people even said, boy, those are going to be the best spots ever for the parade. And so those have been maintained in the new design as well. And then on the corner, I talked about how we need some signage, and I really wanted to have visibility into the library so people could see in and see out. It would be, it's just a fantastic place to hang out. And then I talked about how, we'd even have a fireplace within the periodical area right on the corner. And so the building looked like this when I presented it last. And part of the comments were that this sign, for example, needed to be more visible from Chestnut Street. So I've addressed that. I'll show you in a second. They didn't like the fact that there wasn't any break in these facades, so I'll show you how I addressed that. And then they didn't see enough articulation in the structural elements, and there was no base on any of these windows. No cornice, so on and so forth. So what I did is I made some modifications like this. So you can see how I've now added quite a bit of glass here. I've added this banding at the division between the first and second floor, a stronger cornice on the building. And then in order to deal with the signage element, I turned it vertical. And so now you can read it coming up Main Street and coming down Main Street. There was a suggestion earlier tonight that maybe this needs to turn 45 degrees so you can also read it coming up Chestnut. So, a lot of refinements along the way. And you can barely see, you'll be able to see it better, the articulation on the ground floor. Now, people have talked a lot about trees. I wanted to show the same image if we added 4 street trees. So I didn't want to show the image with just the trees, because then you wonder what the building looks like. But I did want to show that. Now, this is the original design from the Northwest, standing on Elm and Main. And if you watch carefully, it has a little bit more articulation. I think the building got a little richer. We added some detail to it that I think is an improvement to the original design. But I don't think the design changed enough to worry anybody who was pretty happy with what we had before. And then again, the trees, if we were to add 4 street trees. Now, you might say, okay, what about that corner element? And I took it upon myself to design a sign here. I wasn't comfortable just saying public sign. Public library. I thought the Platteville Public Library along this entire canopy was a good move, but I don't have the length here that I had here, so I kind of ran out of room, ended up with public library, and decided that maybe there needs to be some kind of a symbol of Platteville. I looked very hard for a symbol of Platteville and didn't find one that was suitable, so I went ahead and made one. And that's what this is. And all it is it's your existing logo with a circle added in the middle, which kind of symbolizes a rising sun or a setting sun. And this, to me, is the lead and zinc ore under the ground, and together it makes this pattern. And ironically, lead was once called gray gold, and it just so happens that we have gray and gold in this logo. So that was my shot at coming up with something to solve the missing Platteville. Now on the inside, I wanted to show you this. We talked about, let me back off to this one. I've always talked about this as it's called the Imaginarium in my mind. It is almost a black box entertainment type space where you can set up a mood for these readings that are taking place with the children. It's not just a reading room, it's a place where you could really set a mood and really make this a really dynamite place for kids to experience a reading. And so I've talked about ribbons of light. At night, the light might come through these little ribbons. We could maybe side light those frames. But also inside, I wanted the ribbons of light to go down the facade and into the building, and same thing on the second floor. And so that's what this image is showing you. These are the windows on the exterior and that light that could come over the top. And what I did is I decided that maybe these could be LED lights that could be either white, red, blue, or any combination of colors, because now with LED lighting, which is very common in buildings, we can do this kind of thing. And then with 2 cardboard fences, backlit paper moon, and a little gravestone over there, we created a mood. I even put some fog machines in the space and lit it all blue and tried to make it a little spooky for the kids. And the First Lady showed up to do a little reading. So, with her friend Kermit. So that's all I wanted to show you tonight, and I hope it's an improvement. I think that we've added more elements from more people of the community, and hopefully we've now reached a point where we can reach a consensus. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the architect for going above and beyond for doing this. This is awesome, especially how you were able to address how your building fit with our historic standards. That was really nice and clear. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do want people to know that what Michael showed in the beginning with the highlighted red were our design standards. They're not his design standards. So those were things that were given to him.
And thank you for the nice logo overhaul. That was pretty cool too. That was pretty cool.
I think Michael, Ken has a question?
What do you have in the way of support columns that are set out here? Are all these columns the same on the base, above the base? Base or bulkhead? Are you, in other words, like a storefront? You give them the impression that you're at storefronts separated by columns.
Yeah, these columns here. Yeah, so you can see it easier on the facade that and in your packet you can actually see it, maybe Ken. It's tough to see it from that distance, but I've taken the structural columns. Look at the third sheet. Can you, so there are 5 columns on the outside now that were not there before.
On the Main Street part?
Yeah.
Chestnut.
Not on the Main Street side. And then there's 2 on the Chestnut side.
And then the base, how far will the base extend as far as having the glass?
I brought the base, basically the base is under the red brick and not under the wood tone corner element. So wherever there's storefront under red brick, that's where the base is. So the columns and the base, the red brick go together, and then the corner element is just completely different. That glass, I would like to go to within 6 inches of the ground, of the sidewalk.
Set in partly.
No, it's.
The entrance is indented some there?
It is because notice how the Imaginarium sticks out 4 feet? So the Imaginarium cantilevers out over this glass on the corner, 4 feet on Main Street. Let's see if I can get there. There. It's tough to tell, but this is a 4-foot overhang right there. And then the canopy goes past that and covers the door.
May I make a motion?
Please do. Yes, you may.
I make a motion that we adopt the library design as proposed by the architect tonight.
Second.
A
motion and a second.
And we also talked about this in the commission, and we recommended, would like to see the things that the commission recommended sent to you, provided to you in written form.
That's
I don't think we need a motion on that. Just
I'd also like the council to know I fully intend to take this to the next library board meeting as well. They should get a look at it too. But I think that it's great that you guys are gung ho.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we'll vote.
Den,
I'm working on this one, hang on. Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Bonin,
Yes.
Killian,
yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Seaboth Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate
And
all your
thank
hard
you.
work.
Thank you to the Historic Preservation Commission as well for putting in the extra time to make recommendations. It turned out very nice, I think.
All right.
Information anyway.
Yep. Go ahead. Information and discussion, the first
Oh,
item.
oh, oh. Eileen, there was an addition to the agenda. Remember we amended the agenda to add the resolution?
Oh, I don't have that.
I have a copy of it here. I'll pull up.
All right. There was a resolution that was added to our agenda approving the library contract. I
Emailed
don't-
out to everyone.
Wasn't that what we just did?
Thank you, Mike.
No, we approved the
Building design.
building
Building
design.
I didn't see anything
Okay.
else.
This is a resolution supporting the library block project. Does everybody have that?
No, where is it?
You didn't get it either, okay. I read it, but I forgot to print it off.
There's
Ken?
Mike has an extra paper copy. You guys can pass it
Okay.
around. What has happened? Do you mind if I explain real quick?
Go ahead.
What has happened is that the city of Platteville is working with the developer on this project, and we're competing for new market tax credits from the state of Wisconsin, the WHEDA, Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority. WHEDA is reviewing the case, and they're confident in the financials of the project. Their biggest concern was the city council's last vote. If you recall, at our last meeting, we voted 4-3 on the exterior of the facade. So they're questioning whether the council really supports the project. So what I did was I put together this resolution that just says generically how we got here and expresses your support for the library block development project. And my intent is just to send the resolution forward to the state of Wisconsin to ensure that they understand that the city council supports the project.
I move adoption of Resolution 1505, supporting the library block project.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Dick had to step out for a minute, so we'll go ahead and vote. We have 5 for a quorum, so.
This just shows what we already voted and you're sending a resolution forward. Okay.
Yeah.
You asking me? Yes.
Den, Doss,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Seaboth Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA update, EMS.
This is just an update to the HIPAA policy we already have in place, actually, I should say a rewrite. With the Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Health Act, or HITECH, revisions to HIPAA, a rewrite was needed to incorporate that language from that law into our existing policy. It was just easier for me to actually bring forth a whole new one than to try and go through and make all the changes necessary. So that's what I did. This is the same process that happened in 2010 after I had started changing the old policy, updating it with the new requirements. One of the other changes is that I'm already the privacy and security officer. It changes it to HIPAA compliance officer, which is a title that's used quite a bit in healthcare. So that is the changes. The city attorney also reviewed it last year as well. So
So this is what you want us to read?
if you want to read it, go ahead.
All right, so it's an information discussion, so no action tonight.
Are there changes from the old one And are they marked on this new one?
They are not, because it is a new rewrite. We're part of a, we get our information from a law firm who specializes in just EMS. They're known as the experts in HIPAA, so they have sample plans, and we went through and made all the revisions to make it ours. But I did not do all the track changes because that would just add more pages to it.
Are there a lot of additions, changes?
As it relates only to the high tech, the health information technology for
And do you
economic.
have those summarized any place in here?
I can probably find them if you want the statute.
I'm just wondering how many there are.
I couldn't even tell you what the statute changes are. I'm not for sure.
I'm just
This-
trying to find out what the changes are from the previous one.
This basically reflects changes that were made in state statute,
Federal statute.
federal statute, federal law.
Based on the different health programs that are in effect now, correct?
Correct.
And
Based
this-
on the revisions or the changes, the high tech was actually a new law that was passed federally that falls under the HIPAA.
Then these will be the guidelines for our employees. This is our version for our employees, correct?
Correct. For the EMS and the health insurance, or the benefit specialist, and the deputy city clerk when she handles the payments for health insurance.
And Brian, it would be likely that I would find this no matter where I went in a Wisconsin EMS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna find it
Figured that.
no matter where you go in healthcare.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Brian.
And I think if you want more information, Brian would be happy to tell you what state law it is or federal law that's changed and why. And, I mean, it's part of something this city has to adopt in order to stay compliant with the new laws.
That's fine, I'd like to see them anyway.
Okay, thank you. Contract 415 weed and grass mowing.
Yes, this is our annual contract to enforce the tall grass ordinance. Two parts to the contract. First, for mowing large areas. Those are generally vacant parcels of an acre or more. Second is for our normal isolated residential type lawns. We opened one bid for this work, Grass Pro Lawn Care, at $100 per hour or $100 minimum for the large rural areas, and the same for the isolated residential laws. As stated here, we not only provided the bid package to different contractors, but we also called 4 of them prior to the bid opening to remind them of the bid date, and we only received the one bid. Last year, the contract prices were $65 and $35 for the respective base bids. Something to note, in addition to the contractor's cost of service, there is a $40 administration fee. So if you approve this, what that means is that if someone who has a normal residential lawn out there needs to have it mowed, the minimum charge is $140. So that's a lot of money for one little residential lawn. So hopefully people will be advised and mow their lawns.
Howard, one quick question for you. Can we add some language to that contract if it's approved? The one thing I'd like to ask is, I noticed last year in the people that did the contract mowing, all they did was cut it and leave it lay. It looked like the yards looked terrible. I would recommend that if these folks are gonna charge this kind of a price, they also clean everything up. They don't leave grass clippings lay all over. If they're gonna mow the yard at that price, they're gonna clean it up and make it look like a normal yard.
Is that a bagot kind of attachment to the
They
mower
can-
you're looking for?
I don't care how they could do it that way. There's other ways of doing it, but it will be left clean and not all like a hayfield. Because last year, they just cut it and left it lay. It was miserable, because the neighbors had to look at that.
Sheep.
I think we can request that.
I will have to ask that of the contractor, because that
Okay.
was not what we originally bid. My guess is that he would probably accept it, but as I said, this is a minimum $100 or $100 per hour. So if it ends up taking him 2 hours to cut it and clean it, then it's $200. So I just want to make sure that
Okay.
people understand that.
What's he-
excuse me, go ahead.
What's he got for mowers? Is he gonna be mowing them with a 15-inch self-propelled mower or push mower, or is he gonna?
I can tell you what he has if you want to know.
I think the point here is that there's no competition. No other businesses are getting into the business. Therefore, he could have charged $400. There's no barrier. You need more people to submit to these bid requests.
If you have any other questions, I'm sure you can ask Howard, but we're gonna move on to the sidewalk repair contract.
Okay. This is our annual sidewalk repair bid. We do two different parts to this. One is we grind down trip hazards at certain of the edges that move. And then the others are for actual broken sections of sidewalk that we actually replace. Low bidder for the sidewalk replacement was J&T Concrete Construction, and the grinding is Sidewalk Savers. We have used both of these in the past, and we actually proposed bids for grinding, submitted or sent bid packages to 3 people who do grinding, and only the Sidewalk Savers put in a proposal this year. And the other 3 are actual concrete replacement contractors.
All right, any questions? Resolution 1504, change to Platteville Housing Authority board terms. You have the information in the packet. I don't know, we have a board member here who would speak to this if we wanted to, but basically, this particular board has a lot of responsibility when it comes to the money that is allocated by the federal government, and the money is used for people who need assistance with housing. We have vouchers, and there are very strict rules and regulations and accounting that you have to do. And so having constant changeover on the board makes that more difficult because people keep learning every year. And so the request is that normally in our committees and commissions and boards, we have a year in between service. So if you serve for 3 years, you have to take a year off. You can't be reappointed. They're saying, please waive that 1 year off, and they could be reappointed.
What is their length of term?
The length of term is 5 years, but there are also restrictions on who may serve on this board. For example, you cannot be a landlord. So finding individuals to serve also is more complicated than on some of our other boards and commissions.
So you're just opting to take out the 1 year?
Just take out the
thing,
1 year.
and
Yeah,
then
and they can be reappointed. And the council president make that decision anyway, so it isn't automatic that someone would be reappointed after the first 5 years, but it could happen, is what we would say.
One question with that, what if you had somebody decide all of a sudden they're there 15, 20 years, and it might have been something that you maybe only really wanted them there for 10, and you don't have
Well,
that
again,
year?
it's entirely up to the council to approve those appointments, so,
Each and every time,
yep, every.
as their term
it-
renews?
Every member is approved by the
After
council.
their 5-year
Yep.
renewal, okay.
Yep.
But isn't there an issue to where there's a lot to learn, to
Yes,
know,
there's
to
a-
be on this?
Yep, yep. There's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
With the federal laws, kind of what we just saw with Brian, where the federal laws change and you have to just keep abreast of them, so. Resolution 1504, change, sorry, that was the one. Rezoning, 1205 Union, which is why we have such a great audience here yet. So, Joe,
We received a request to change the zoning designation for the property at 1205 Union Street. It's currently zoned R1 Single Family Residential, and it also has an R-Low Limited Occupancy Overlay District designation. The request is to change it to R2 1 and 2 Family Residential, and to remove the Overlay District designation. Just to refresh everybody's memory, the Overlay District designation places limitations on the number of unrelated individuals that can live in a dwelling unit within that designation. For example, most places in the city, a rental can have a maximum of 4 unrelated individuals. Within this limited occupancy area, it would be a maximum of 2 unrelated. So it would have an impact on primarily rental properties. It doesn't have a restriction on the number of family members that can live there. It's just unrelated individuals. So that is the request. This will be a public hearing at the next meeting, and I did receive, since your packet went out, a petition submitted by some of the property owners that has been submitted. And there is a provision in the ordinance that states if 20% or more of the adjacent property owners submit a petition against the zoning change, that the council can only approve it with a supermajority vote. So 3 out of 4 members have to vote in favor or in order for this amendment to pass. So this petition does meet that requirement. So on the 28th, when that vote takes place, I believe that would be 6 out of 7 have to be in favor in order for it to pass.
Okay.
This all went, we all passed this through the planning commission, correct?
Yeah, sorry, the Plan Commission reviewed this at their last meeting and recommended denial of both of those changes. And I should point out, it is theoretically possible you could approve the change from the R1 or R2 or deny that change and consider the overlay district removal separately. The Plan Commission recommended denial of both changes.
We do, yeah, we do have people who'd like to speak on this subject. The first person is Dick Rundle. And again, if you could limit your comments, that would be great for us.
My name is Dick Rundle, and I reside at 1270 Perry Drive. And I guess it seems like we've been through this before, so we have. But I'm speaking, first of all, I want to ask, my reason for being here is to ask the council to deny request for the rezoning of this particular property and also the removal of the overlay district. We live on the west side of the Platteville and also very close to the university campus. And being as close as we are to the campus, we always have problems with, well, it's not a problem yet, but I mean, the people seek to put rental property housing in our area because it is so close to the campus. And rental property owners, of course, if they're that close, have a good chance of renting their property without too many difficulties. So we're constantly dealing with this. Over the years, the university has had a growing student population, and the student housing has not always kept up with the number of students that have been coming in. And in particular, I'd like to reference the Tri-State Initiative, which I believe was approved around 2008, and it was given 5 years to bring in about 2,000 students over that period of time. And during that time, the university did not really provide any increased housing to accommodate those additional 2,000 students. And if you think about the population of Platteville, I know out in the signs out at the limits, out the city limits, it's probably something like 11,000. And if you look at the breakdown of full-time residents in this particular, in the city versus students, I've been told that probably the actual number of residents living here full-time, non-student, is probably in a range of about 4,000 to 4,500, and which means we're not an awful lot bigger in that respect than Lancaster is. But because of that, the large student population, it could create pressure on the local communities, or the local community, neighborhoods, and so forth. So recently, the university has constructed dorms, 3 dorms, I believe, and there's also been an apartment building constructed across from the Center for the Arts, and I think that has taken a lot of the pressure off of the neighborhoods and the people residing in the city and so forth. So that has helped. I do want to pass out a map, which I have, and I would hope that Council Member Doss, when she gets done with it, if she pass it on to Jan, because I would like to pick it up. I wish I had a map so everybody could take a look at it because it is interesting. It's a map of the city of Platteville, and it's broken down by colors for those of you who are looking at it. There's purple, there's red, and orange, and it refers, and then yellow, and it all refers to how far away from the university property these different rental properties are located. But the interesting part of it is that as narrow as my figures, as I last remember them, was that the rental population or the rental housing in Platteville numbered over 50% of the total housing in Platteville. So we're a major area for rental property, more so than say non-rental. The other part of it is that the area that we live in the west side of Platteville in the overlay district is R1. And the percentage of R1 zoning property in the city of Platteville, and I could ask Joe Carroll to maybe refresh me if this is not correct. My understanding is that the R1 zoned property is about 17% of the total area in total zoned property in Platteville. So with a growing student population near our neighborhood, with a high percentage of rental property and so forth, it's hard to keep together a single residential owner, a single owner residential area, and keep it a family area and an area like we have in the western side of this particular area on the west side of Platteville. A couple years ago, when we approved the overlay district, we made an effort as a community to bring together members and to try and see what we could do about getting members to join in an overlay district so we could help preserve the community we live in a particular community like ours on the west side. We, first of all, got together and we made up teams to go around and talk to different communities or different neighborhoods in this community. We had 4 teams of 2 people each. We had a team that was in Moonlight Drive area, a team that was in 2 teams in the West Hill subdivision, and then also a 2-member team in the Preston Drive area. And the reason I bring this up is I'm not sure everybody how we went about this and how we tried to educate the community as to what this was about, the advantages of becoming a member in this, or being part of this community, and also the restrictions. So I'm going to pass out, and there is a copy for everybody, but I'll pass out a copy for you to look at. You don't have to read it right now. But this is what we passed out to our community. As we went around as a team of 2, we asked questions, presented this information, and then a month later we came back and with a petition. So we gave them time to look at this proposal, to understand it, and hopefully realize that they are signing into, if they sign this petition to be part of the overlay district, that there are restrictions and they should be aware of those. I'll pass this along just for your information, so you know what we did pass out.
And Dick, I think you've about come to the end of your 5 minutes, so if you can just give me your one last sentence, that would be wonderful.
I got another map I can pass down. Some people don't realize that we have 110 property owners in the overlay district. Some people at the Plan Commission felt that it was just a small district. But I have a copy that I'll pass down. All the council members can take a look at it.
Thank you. Next person is Gene Weber.
Good evening. I am Gene Weber, and Jan and I moved to 1285 Union Street in 1976 because of Westview School. We have enjoyed a wonderful neighborhood, and our 3 sons still comment today about the dream world they were able to grow up in Platteville. There have been at least 4 zoning requests in our neighborhood that I remember, all of which resulted in our neighborhood overwhelmingly sharing with our respected council that we want it kept single family. Our community's decision in the recent election, to expand Westview School to 4 elementary grades is yet another reason to keep our neighborhood zoned single-family, limited to 2 unrelated. This past week, I did visit with the city of Whitewater, a university community like Platteville, with a population there of about 14,000. To protect their single-family neighborhood near the university, they considered an overlay district similar to ours. In the end, according to their zoning director, they chose to permanently rezone their single-family neighborhood as RO single-family, limited to 2 unrelated persons. So we would request that you decline this request for R2 and the removal of the overlay district. And please consider permanently rezoning our overlay district to single-family, 2 unrelated persons. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Charles Clark?
My name is Charlie Clark. I live at 875 West Main Street. It was about, I think, 5 or so years ago when the overlay district issue was a hot topic and it was approved. And I'm not somebody who believes that, once something is approved that it could never, never, ever change, but I think you have to have a good reason. And I don't think that having one individual's ownership be a reason to ignore the requests and the desires of a whole neighborhood justified.
Thank you. I have some individuals here who have said they would like to speak, and then they also say they would like to register against. So I'm not sure if you actually want to speak or just register against, but we'll start with Rachel Culbertson.
My name is Rachel Culbertson, and I live with my husband Ken and our 9 and 10-year-olds children at 1165 West Hill Avenue. I'm here to express our family's opposition to the rezoning proposal that was presented to, discussed by, and ultimately not supported by the Plan Commission at the regular meeting last Monday. There were 2 comments made during the discussion last week that seemed to me to be the cruxes of this matter, and it is to those statements that I am responding tonight. The first comment was made by one of the members of the Plan Commission in reference to and in support of the removal of the limited occupancy residential overlay district. He stated that, "I don't think that adding 2 people to a neighborhood will make a difference." I actually agree. Our neighborhood is not exclusive. We don't want to keep people out. People of all ages and from all backgrounds are what make our neighborhood unique. In our neighborhood, in fact, within 50 yards of our home, we have people from age 2 to age 102. We have singles, empty nesters, retirees, 2-parent families, single-parent families, multi-generational families, widows, widowers, and even renters, landlords, and university students. It is not people of any age or any background that we want to exclude from the West Hill subdivision. No, our concern is not with adding 2 people to our neighborhood. It is with adding 2 or more unrelated individuals to any one house within our neighborhood. Keeping the limited occupancy residential overlay district prevents this from happening. The second comment was made, interestingly, by the owner-landlord of the house adjacent to the property in question. He explained that his daughter and family have been renting this home from him for years, but would likely be moving next year. He subsequently stated that, and I didn't write it down, so it's probably not an exact quote, but basically, it will then be a business to me. We do not want businesses in our neighborhood. A neighborhood is for people. Businesses belong in a business district. We want our neighborhood to be a place for people, not businesses to thrive. The homeowners in the West Hill subdivision are here because it is a beautiful, small, safe, friendly, and affordable neighborhood. And we reside here not to prosper financially, but to enjoy life. Neighborhoods are for establishing friendships, not businesses. They're for setting up a home, not shop. And they're for making a difference, not a dollar. As I noted before, we already do have renters, landlords, and university students in our neighborhood, and we have not had problems. I believe that is because the renters are either related to the homeowners, our students renting rooms in owner-occupied homes, our families renting an entire floor or home, or in one case, have the landlords living across the street. While I imagine the owners do make money on these arrangements, these situations are different from the proposal being discussed tonight because the owners have a more vested interest in our neighborhood. After all, most of them live in it. Furthermore, the proximity of the owners to the renters clearly aids in the upholding of neighborhood courtesies, general societal guidelines, and city ordinances. The rezoning request currently before the council would establish a business in our neighborhood, and the owner thereof would not even be in it. Keeping the limited occupancy residential overlay district prevents this from happening. In the housing goals and objectives sections of Platteville's comprehensive plan, Goal 2 is to, quote, maintain and improve the quality and condition of existing housing, end quote. Objective 2.2 thereunder states the city wants to, quote, encourage and support neighborhood groups and others as they may organize regarding issues and concerns specific to the individual neighborhoods, end quote. The West Hill subdivision has organized in the past, as well as now, regarding the issues and concerns specific to our neighborhood, namely establishing and then upholding the limited occupancy residential overlay district as established. Therefore, I, my family, and my neighbors ask you, in keeping with the comprehensive plan, to encourage and support us to this end by denying this rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas Lindahl?
I'm Tom Lindahl from 295 Flower Court. Some of you saw me here as a part of what Dick was talking about earlier when we did put this together. And it was for a good reason. And I think our neighborhoods today want to maintain that reason. At that time, in this community, we were finding that homes were being purchased and turned into student housing, destroying what has been, what was so eloquently just talked about in our family neighborhoods. And that's what this was all about as far as I was concerned in terms of having this happen. I assume the question might be there right now because this house has been on the market and they wanted a buyer. It so happens that I also have a son that just started into the housing market to purchase. This home happened to be one he and his wife are looking at, primarily because it was somewhat close to the school. It's close to being able to walk to the university for them. But when they checked on it, the offer had already been made on this house, and so they thought it was off the market. Later I found out this is the reason it's off the market. So it could have been sold possibly to a family and maintain the family. So I just think it should remain that way. I think we had good reasons when we put this together to start with. The people in those communities really supported it, so I don't think we should change it now.
Thank you. Brian Wagner?
My name is Brian Wagner. I live at 1155 Union Street. And I signed the overlay to kind of maintain the residential neighborhood that my wife and I moved into. The residential neighborhood nurtures long-term families versus, short-term renters. We like the residential neighborhoods because it preserves the low traffic in our neighborhood. It caters to our kids on bikes. Also, the pedestrians that walk up and down the streets because of the lack of sidewalks in a lot of our neighborhood. We are going to see an expansion on the elementary school that is right across the street from us, so the flow of kids is going to probably increase with 4 grades instead of 2. In a residential neighborhood, a homeowner that shows pride and ownership of his home. Your home is your life. You enjoy that. A renter, it's a short stop, and that's why I want to continue to see in a residential neighborhood. Majority of the homeowners in the overlay district signed this overlay to further regulate the R1 zoning, and they want to maintain this family atmosphere and they want to attract new families. I guess you got to ask yourself, what's the vision for Platteville? Is it going to be, what's their blueprint or your comprehensive plan, I guess? I mean, renters are going to come and go. Residential neighborhoods are vital for this community to see families grow in it. once you make a decision on spot zoning, I mean, are they going to be consistent with your general plan? I mean, when this spot zoning starts, what precedent will you set, and what long-term irreversible consequences will occur for Platteville if you do these spot zoning? Thanks.
Tanya Wagner.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tanya Wagner, and I reside at 1155 Union Street as well. And I'm obviously here in opposition to the amendment of the zoning at 1205 Union Street. I've lived in this neighborhood next door to the property in question for 16 years. One of the biggest draws to this neighborhood, as many of our neighbors will attest, was that it was quiet, it was near a school, and that it was residential. To preserve the environment and the neighborhood, as many of the neighbors have mentioned tonight, the majority of the neighbors signed that overlay petition. And the reason behind that was to protect the privacy of residents, minimize noise, congestions, and nuisance, maintain an attractive community appearance, to provide a desirable living environment for residents by preserving the owner-occupied character of the neighborhood in question, and finally, to prevent excessive traffic and parking issues as well. UW-Platteville brings wonderful aspects to our community, there's no doubt about that. However, allowing student housing to pop up in the middle of residential neighborhoods has the potential for many unintended consequences. In addition, if this zoning request is amended and student housing is allowed, at what point do the amendments stop? And when you look across the room, I'm guessing that the majority of people in the audience tonight are against this amendment and this rezoning issue. Our neighborhood has been very passionate about this. And after I put together these remarks, I happened to talk to a neighbor on our block, and she was not aware of this, and I shared with her what was going on. And her comment was, after she shrugged her shoulders and looked completely disappointed, she said, "I moved from Cedar Street to this neighborhood because it was residential, and now it's starting to come here as well." So a lot of concern on behalf of the neighbors. And again, as a longtime community member, a mother, and a neighbor, I respectfully ask that the council does not endorse this request. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dan Hunsack.
Thank you. Not as tall as Tanya. I wish I was. My name is Dan Punzak. My wife and I live at 1110 Perry Drive. We're in the overlay district. I would just like to say that I would also recommend that you deny this zoning request from R2 to R1, and also the second part to remove it from the overlay district. I would like to say that I enjoy living in this community because it has a university in it. I benefit personally, culturally, socially, from having a university in the community in which I live. It keeps our town from being less provincial like some other communities in our county. I also would like to say that I have nothing against university students in general. I was one a long time ago, as was my wife and all three of my children at one particular point. But I would also like to say at this point in my life, I am not all that excited about living right next door to them. Okay? And as someone on the council suggested to me when I said that to her, she said, well, that doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. And I don't think it does. I think it makes me somewhat of a wiser person than I used to be. Nor do I have any opposition to any individual beginning a business, buying properties in order to rent them out as a source of a livelihood. I have no opposition to that either. I think that is entirely appropriate. But in talking with several community members and with Mr. Carroll recently, it is my opinion, based on those conversations, that at this current time, the community of Platteville has an overabundance of rental properties available. In fact, right across from the old Ulzvik Center, and that shows you how old I am. I don't remember new things anymore. My short term doesn't work, but I remember long ago. So it was the Ulzvik Center. Right across is a rental property, and I know the person who is related to the owners who rent that out. And they said to him recently they have never had to advertise for that property because word of mouth and students talking to friends and things, just it was all. Now you'll see there's a sign on it for rent if you drive by that property today, right across the street from the university. That we have abundance of recent buildings for university students on campus, near campus, on Washington Street, duplexes up Washington Street. And I would suggest that when I moved here 22 years ago, Cedar Street did look like West Hill. The east side of Union Street did look like the west side of Union Street. Those two streets don't look like that anymore. Lots of streets don't look like that anymore. The thing I would like to suggest that you think about is in talking with Mr. Carroll, listening to Mr. Winters, that's correct, he's on the Plan Commission. As I look at this ordinance, there's nothing in it you can apply to be removed, and that's what this purchaser has asked the owner to do. Apply to be removed from the overlay. And then you will decide whether to approve that or deny that. In looking at the ordinance and talking with Mr. Carroll, I can't find any criteria by which you as a council would determine that. Nothing is stated as to how the decision should be made. There's no criteria in the ordinance. I would like to suggest at least a couple of things to consider. One would be need. Is there a need? Is there a compelling community interest in changing the zoning on this one house in this one overlay district to provide additional student housing? Is there a need? I would suggest that you consider, is there a need? And I also ask you to consider, would there be an impact on that community? And would that impact likely to be for better or for worse? So as you determine this next meeting, I would ask that you deny the request, as the commission suggested, to rezone from R2 to R1, and that you would also deny the request to rezone and allow them to opt out of the overlay district. This is one of the first times I'm understanding that this has come up. It's likely to come up again. And my suggestion is that it's somewhere along the line, the council has to come up with some ideas about adding to the ordinance about how they will determine this to happen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We had a number of people who registered against: Pam Punzak, Marjorie Bierbauer, Mark Gottschall, Carol Ruttman, Jan Weber, Deb Meese, Joyce Clark, John Dewsbury, Evelyn Dewsbury, Larry Kurdowski, am I getting that right? Sylvia Kurowski, and Melody Coppin. And then we also received, I don't know if everyone received this email or not, but it's from Deb and Thomas Osting and Moonlight Drive, and they also are opposed to any changes. And then we all did receive the petition. So I'm not gonna read all those names, but we do have those for our records as well. Anything else the council would like to say, or otherwise, I think.
Is there such a thing as putting some teeth in there so they can't get past Howard or Joe with it?
As Joe said, this will be on next time.
Sure.
Yeah, so that is the 28th of April. So we'll see you all then. Thank you very much.
Not me.
Not you, sorry.
I might be out
All
there.
right, next item is the sidewalk waiver, proposed Sherwin-Williams store on Progressive Parkway. Joe?
Thank you all for coming.
Gotta give them a minute.
Gotcha.
Oh, midnight.
Maybe not.
I just wonder if that one house there that finished on Union Street where he built the garage first and lived in it and then it done.
Is that,
Barrett's.
Okay, I think we can proceed. The next item was a request regarding a sidewalk waiver. There's a proposed Sherwin-Williams that's proposed to be constructed on Progressive Parkway. It would be on the second lot east of Commercial Drive. between Progressive Parkway and Business Highway 151. It would be immediately west of the proposed McDonald's that we talked about recently. As part of that development, the ordinance says if there isn't a sidewalk along the street frontages, it should be developed or installed as part of that development. But the council can waive that requirement if there aren't any sidewalks to connect to and there's no compelling immediate need. But we always retain the right to require the installation of a sidewalk in the future. The developer is proposing to install a sidewalk along Progressive Parkway, and that would connect with the sidewalk that McDonald's will be installing, and which would then lead to the sidewalk on the other side of Progressive Parkway and future bike trail by Menards and Walmart. But at this point, there is no sidewalks present along the entire stretch of Business Highway 151 on either side, so there would be nothing to connect to at that point. So they're requesting a waiver of that requirement for a sidewalk along that frontage. I think the Planning Commission reviewed this and recommended approval, and the discussion was as long as we always have the right to require that sidewalk to be installed at a future date at the expense of the property owner, they would be in favor of this waiver at this time, and that would be staff's recommendation as well.
Questions for Joe?
So Joe, is a corridor then preserved for this sidewalk so that it's an appropriate distance from the road and things? I mean, is the development such that there can be sidewalk?
Well, the development wouldn't prevent the future installation of sidewalk. I'm not sure what you mean by a corridor.
Well, if you put a building in the way, it would prevent the future installation
Oh, yeah, I
of
mean,
sidewalk.
there's building setbacks and existing easements along that frontage that you couldn't build up to the sidewalk.
I
or
just
up to
want to
the
know
curb.
that the corridor is there if it's required.
What is the setback for out there in that type of area?
Well, their building is proposed way beyond the required setback. So,
Yeah, I know, but
yeah.
do you know what setback?
Actually, it was modified just recently. It's 25 feet now.
Oh, it is 20, okay, same as
Right.
residential.
And Joe, we always have a city easement along the roadways anyway, correct?
Well, there's
This has
quite a bit of utility easements along that frontage, but
Okay.
I don't know what the right-of-way width is along
Okay.
that section.
I'm just gonna point out that I think it's silly to keep waiving sidewalks, and if we hadn't waived it on McDonald's, we'd have two properties next to one another with a sidewalk by now. So I think every time we waive this, we create exceptions that give us more opportunities for people to argue against sidewalks in the future, and I'm opposed to that.
Well, Amy,
One problem with that, excuse me, Dick, go ahead.
Amy, they still, always still got the chance that they have to put them in when the need calls for it.
I understand that, it's
I
hard
don't
for us
think you
to.
do because you keep bringing it up.
I've never seen the city go and make a business install a sidewalk. If you can give me some examples of when we've done that, that would be awesome.
Haven't had to yet.
They're all out in the industrial park.
There will be sidewalks along the backside of this property
We've got-
anyway to coincide with
we've
whole
gotta
length of
develop
both of those.
I don't understand why we're defending multi-million-dollar corporations. A sidewalk to them's a drop in the bucket. Just saying, guys.
Okay.
When are we gonna develop the 151 business corridor? When that's done, then it's a different story. Then you need them sidewalks out there. Right now, we made people put in sidewalks here in town going down, yes, we did.
We paid for them when we installed them,
We made them put them in.
and we paid for them.
The pay portion isn't the issue, it's the maintaining of them in the wintertime. Maintaining sidewalks that nobody uses.
This discussion is almost as good as parking.
It is.
So we'll just say that we all have the information that we need, and what we
Thank you.
need
I
now
gotta
is
get
a
my 2 cents
motion,
worth in.
a motion to go into closed session.
I make a motion, we go into closed session, by state statute 1985, parent 1E.
Second.
Three different items.
All right, we have a motion, a second, and we'll vote.
Vote. Yes.
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 Bonin,
Yes.
Killian. Did I hear? Nichols, yes. Seaboth Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, we'll take a 5-minute break, folks.
Hi, Steve.